So in today's video, it's about this small instrument here. It's called a Kalimba. It's a wooden instrument and there are some metal plugs on top and it sounds pretty beautiful. I can't play it, obviously, but I try to resample it, sample all the plugs multiple times and create a Bitwig sampler instrument from it with some effects on top. And I want to show you the preset and what you can do with it. If you want to save some money on Bitwig Studio and the upgrade plans, and you want to support my channel and my content, then go to my webpage, use the link to the Bitwig store, use my code and save 10% on the regular price. So this is how the preset looks inside Bitwig Studio, and this is basically just a regular sampler patch here. If you double click the preset, you can unfold basically the sampler. You can see I have here multiple samples for the same keys. So I sampled all keys, basically all individual plugs on the Kalimba, and I sampled it multiple times. So you have basically for individual velocity values, different samples. So that's why it sounds so nice in the end, hopefully. So in the FX slot here, we have three FX or audio effects. At first we have here the grain, and then we have reverb, and then we have delay. And you can blend in all these individual effects basically in front here with the delay knob and the reverb and the grain setting here. Then we have some additional settings for the grain. So you can basically tweak how fast you want to have the grain effect to play and the grain frequency here. Also, there's a resonator, so you can basically muffle the sound a bit and activate here a bandpass filter basically and the key track. And then there's a so-called mist button where you can create some sort of pads or drone sounds. And I want to show you how this sounds. So this is the initial state of the preset when you load it up. Then you have just the Kalimba sound. So you can just play it on the piano, or you can use here, like I did, just the piano roll, create some melody line, and don't forget here to apply some randomized velocity settings, so it will sound better at least. So you can just use it as a plug sound. And then there are some effects, of course. There's the grain setting here. It's some sort of grain delay. And you can change the grain X value here. It's a bit hard to explain what this parameter does, but when I show you, it makes it maybe clearer. And we have here some mix knobs. So I have basically 4 pitch shifters, and one is shifting 1 octave higher, then one is shifting 1 octave low, and so on. And then I have here the grain setting basically at 0 and the mix knob. So when you turn the grain X here down, then you have basically all the pitch shifters in half wet, half dry, basically, and you give the dry signal through all the pitch shifters. You basically have some parallel processing going on. And if you go all the way up, you basically have the mix setting here, as you can see, and all the pitch shifters at 100%. And then you have some yeah, some sequential processing happening. So there's a small difference there. Then yeah, there's the grain frequency, which just changes here the grain frequency on all the pitch shifters at once. So this gives you some kind of control over the grain delay effect. And because the grain effect is in front of all the other effects, so you can basically use this to make the sound with the reverb a bit, yeah, wide and thick. So instead of having just one pluck sound with the reverb, you can use the grain to basically add some small little details, granular effects type of sound to it. Okay, so these are basically the grain effects and the reverb. Then there's a delay at the end, of course. And combined with all the other effects. It gives you a nice rich sound. Then there's a resonator here, which basically just activates here the filter section on the sampler itself, and it switches to the 4-pole bandpass filter. It switches on the key track, and it switches the cutoff frequency here to C3. And because of the key tracking, we can now play the sound a bit more, yeah, it basically removes all the harsh top end and it leaves you just with a fundamental frequency. You still hear the top end a bit through, but the fundamental frequency is much more prominent. And maybe if you use the reverb here, it gives you a more musical result. Instead of okay. And then we have this mist button here, which basically activates the textures mode on the sampler. It switches the speed to 0, and then it activates here the random modulators. One is for the position of the texture, and one is for the grain size of the texture. So this gives you basically a pad sound, more or less. So when we just activate this and just press and hold one key, you have just one long sound, and the playhead basically moves randomly over the sample, which gives you sometimes the fundamental frequency, and sometimes you get the attack phase and some detailed granular effect. And of course, if you press multiple keys, so a chord basically, then you get a much more richer result. When you combine this, of course, with the grain delay here, or grain effect and reverb and delay, you have some kind of drone machine. So nice eerie sound effect if you want to have that, or you need an airy drone, then you can use this also here. Just push this button and play around with the crane effect and the reverb, and maybe also use the resonator. This could be nice too. So I basically try to make this preset as versatile as possible. If you want to download this preset, then you have to head over to my Patreon page and subscribe there with at least $1. Then you can download it and play around with it. Please leave me also some feedback in the comments if you like the preset or not, and leave me maybe a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you'll be informed about new videos here on this channel. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.